I saw this in Lidl and thought, well, let's get one and take a look at it. I was particularly interested in the fact that this light, which has three heads that can be swiveled to suit, it says the LEDs and the LED driver may only be replaced by a qualified electrician. I'm not convinced about that because ultimately this is completely unserviceable. It is another landfill light. Here's what you get. You've got the metal housing, and it's useful to note that there is no obvious earthing attachment point. It is basically just this little block here that you can pop open and you can put a cable in, as I've done. It also comes with heat-proof sleeving, which you wouldn't think would be needed because it's not going to get very hot. I have tested this and the power is 10 watts. So here we have an LED driver that is literally glued to the back of the case. And we have a series circuit of the LED heads, which I'll explore in a moment. But let's plug it in and show you it lit. So I'll just dazzle you all by just plugging it in right now. There it is, dazzling. And you can then swivel and adjust these as you prefer to shoot light into suitable areas. Now, it would have been nice if they'd been GU10 lamps. I'll just unplug that. Because then you could just basically have taken a lamp out and changed it, but this is cost optimized. If we pop one of the covers off this, we see a little reflector and a circuit board just sat in there, which has 6 LEDs on it. It looks as though they may be wired as parallel pairs, 3 parallel pairs. Let me just check that. Okay, so I was wrong. That it's 6 individual LEDs all wired in series, giving a combined forward voltage for the whole lot of, that would be 6, say about 20 volts drop across that, 20, 40, 60. That doesn't seem right because this thing, it says 25 to 40 volt. I wonder what the voltage across that is. I may have to explore this a bit further. Well, we can explore it a bit further. If I pop the cover off this, if I can pop the cover off that, oh, there's the hot melt glue has just given, that's good. Let's see if we can get this cover off. I don't have the full armament of tools with me at the moment because travel. Oh, that doesn't seem like it's actually even want to come off. Let's get the spudger. If I can find the spudger, which I'm not finding the spudger. Oh, there's the spudger. Oops. So that comes off. Oh, it's straight onto the circuit board in there. So that's the mains in. Is there a terminal in the output? Oh, there is a little terminal in there, but I don't think I'm going to easily be able to probe into that. I shall try. Let's just grab a dinky meter. And it is a very dinky meter, but it's fine. And we shall plug this in. And see what the voltage is on the output of that. Maybe they're configured differently to what I'm thinking at the moment. I might even be going to be able to get that in. I'm not going to be able to get that in there, am I? No, it's just not accessible. Right, give me a moment. I shall do a little experiment. No, actually, tell you what. Let's turn it upside down, keep my fingers well away from the mains bits. And let's... I can't see a thing here. Hold on a second. Turn that off momentarily. Right, I've got the connections there, and I'll probe across this radio, steering directly into lights. That's nice. So I'll go between here and here. Getting anything in the meter? Not really. Not actually making connection at all. Oh, I can't see a thing because I'm looking directly into light, and that is not terribly helpful. It says 9.2 volts. Is that really 9.2 volts? I'm going to have to investigate this further and see how these are configured. One moment, please. So the configuration is that they are parallel pairs, kind of. There are 3 LEDs in series for that 9 volts, but then there's another 3 in series next to it. So it is 2 effectively parallel sets of 3 LEDs in here. But anyway, the bit we're interested in here is this little power supply, and I think it's time to take it back to the bench and take a look inside and see how the quality of it looks compared to the typical importy type stuff. So we'll take it back to the normal bench and take a look at it right now. And we're back once again with the Renegade Master D4 Damager Power to the people. Back at the usual bench. The reason I didn't reverse engineer this in Glasgow is because I've got better stuff here to do that, and it's just easier. And it means that by making the first part of the video in Glasgow, I didn't have to ship the whole light across, which saved space in the luggage. Anyway, before we go any deeper, I can tell you that this is pretty good power supply. The case is interesting because it has little grips for gripping the cable on both parts, and then when you put it together, it actually clicks down in steps, so it can be left just sticking up a little bit, and you push it down till it clamps the cable, depending on the size of the cable. Quite nice. It is a 260 milliamp power supply with an open circuit voltage theoretically of 55 volts, but a normal voltage range of 25 to 40 volts. Let me show you the picture of let me show you the photos. So this image is flipped. The reason it's flipped is just to make it easier for me to trace the components out. We have the incoming supply, which is hardwired, although they do have a push connector option there, but they put it in permanently. There is a rectifier and a smoothing capacitor. There is some filtering, an inductor and a filter capacitor, and then the transformer is very notable. It is a proper isolated supply with a proper class Y capacitor, and the transformer, you can see the thickness of the windings here. They're the triple insulated windings, and they've got sleeve, and they've got the little standoff here that keeps everything well separated, increases effectively the separation, the tracking distance. Then the output, we've got a diode and the capacitor here, and then the terminals, and a position for a switch, which I would guess, have selected between cold white and warm white. If we take a look at the other side of the circuit board, we have an incoming fusible resistor, F1, 15 ohm, the bridge rectifier to the capacitor, the inductor with a resistor across it, the extra filtering capacitor, and then a KP1191 chip. It was very hard reading the number of that. I had to use various techniques. I ended up using Dave at EEV Blog's technique of rubbing it with some silicone oil zinc oxide service heat zinc compound. Giving it a good rub-in and then wiping it off and trying to get a bit of a contrast, but it is barely etched in. We've got the current sense resistors for operation. We've got a resistor to set the open circuit voltage, which is interesting. And it does have a snubber network, plus an extra little capacitor there I'll show you on the schematic. Oddly, there are two positions for the Class Y capacitor, maybe optionally both, including one from the positive rail to the negative at the output side. There is a diode. It's not a Schottky diode, it's just a high-speed diode, ES2G. There's the little smoothing capacitor, a slight load. There's the switch that would normally be able to switch between colours, and this link bypasses that. And that's more or less it. So let's take a look at the schematic. And it's fairly straightforward. What happened there? How did it end up going at such an angle? Exciting. Here's the fusible resistor, the bridge rectifier, the 2.2 microfarad death beam capacitor, the filtering, 4.7 millihenry, quite a high value with a resistor across it, and a, presumably to damp. I'm not really sure why they put the resistor across that. The experts in, I'm guessing, shunt resistor, but the experts in RF suppression, stuff like that will know about that. Then a 220 nanofarad capacitor across that. The chip itself, it's a KP1191SP, is powered via a 20k resistor. Now, the data sheet for this doesn't show the resistor, but they've put it in just to presumably take some of the dissipation away from that. There's a 10k resistor which sets the overvoltage protect. That, basically speaking, monitors the secondary. How is it doing that then if there's no feedback? It must be detecting it via the collapsing field on this. Interesting. There's a current sense resistor that will basically set the amount of energy gets put into the transformer and then transferred across. So they've got two 3 ohm resistors with a total of 1.5 ohm. And there's the snubber network. I mean, they've really thrown everything in here, including a capacitor between the drain and the 0 volt rail. Now, because it switches to 0 volt rail, although having said that, the current sense resistors will limit that to a degree. Yeah, that will limit the peak current. But I don't think this is a high value. Couldn't really measure it because it was in circuit and getting skewed. But there's an M7, a very standard diode. Thought they'd have chosen something faster for that. Current limiting resistor, which is not shown in the schematic, and then just the standard snubber network that clips the slight spike to protect the MOSFET in here. On the output, we have the ES2G, a high-speed diode. We've got a suitably low ESR capacitor. That's the bit that will fail in this over time. And then a slight load resistor just for stability. Just for reference, the bit that will fail is this capacitor here, 47 microfarad, 50 volt, has to be low ESR, high frequency type capacitor because of the nature of the power supply. But that's it. You know what? Fundamentally, it's quite, the light itself is, hold on, I'm just going to adjust the lighting. That's better. The light itself is not serviceable. It's a bit landfilly. That thing about saying, that should only be serviced by an electrician, what they mean is just swap it out completely as soon as one LED fails. So I don't know how long it's going to last, although this power supply is quite nice. But it does offer, for us, if we had one of these lights, we wouldn't necessarily need to change it. We could just basically fix the power supplies. The power supply and potentially the LEDs, although that's not so easy. But that's it. I'm surprised how good this is. The way it all clips together, it's actually held in by a couple of clips in here, and it's got all that separation as if it's a proper isolated power supply, which I suppose that's to classify with the double insulated standard. But there we go. No points for being landfill, but definitely points to the power supply. It does actually seem quite a good product.